The moon in Taurus. Taurus represents a relational and emotional field with recurring patterns that manifest both internally and externally. The energy of the moon is not merely psychological, but rather expresses itself through a relational field linked to the moment of birth. This field possesses recurrent patterns and specific qualities that are simultaneously expressed in what is perceived as inner and outer reality. Astrology allows predicting the nature of certain relationships, such as the maternal one, simply by being born at a particular moment. These patterns are not unconscious projections, but rather unfoldings of an energetic field that are updated in the person's environment. For example, if the moon is in Gemini, the person's affective environment may include journalists and a great love for reading, or if the moon is in Taurus, the father may value how the mother cooks. These are not psychic projections, but rather deployments of an energetic field. At the same time, when the moon is cyclically aspected in a certain way, events related to these people occur, that is, related to the lunar pattern. In a transit of Uranus in opposition to the moon, for example, the person may change the decoration of their house, and at the same time their mother may be suffering from mental disorders. Their mother-in-law may also go on a trip, and even their ex-mother-in-law may be traveling by plane at the same time. These synchronistic events and connections cannot be reduced to unconscious projections. A relational network is activated synchronistically outside, and in turn, these events will be symbolically linked to alterations in the person's inner world, regardless of whether they are affected or not. There is no linear causality between the person and the different events that manifest. It is a matter of a synchronistic structure in manifestation, that is, of an energetic relational pattern. The psychological is understood as a conditioned reaction to the energetic, which is constant, while consciousness can vary in its adherence to that energy. There are different levels of vibration in each energetic nucleus of the natal chart. If consciousness becomes fixated on a particular vibration, it ceases to perceive the other vibratory possibilities of that nucleus. If it remains fixed in a certain position, it inevitably fragments and begins a process of rejection of what deeply constitutes it. It is essential for consciousness to disidentify from certain preferred vibrations in order to be able to live other possibilities and give more flexible responses to energetic reality. Projection is the consequence of the inability to identify with certain energies, generally due to an excess of identification with their opposite. The challenge is to disidentify from these fixations in order to integrate the wealth of possibilities offered by the moon's energy in Taurus. People around them must provide intense physical contact, joyful satisfaction, and sensual fulfillment of basic needs from day one. The mother's body will be perceived, beyond the nursing stage, as a source of nourishment and protection. Any sense of insecurity is calmed when the child makes contact with that body. Its smell, warmth, texture, and the nourishment it provides are clear signs of affection. Body, love, security, nourishment, and sensuality intertwine, constituting a single message, an indissoluble condensation of stimuli. If one exists, the others must exist, and vice versa. The absence of any implies the absence or insufficiency of the others. This weaves a psychological web that predisposes the child with the moon, in Taurus, to remain fixated in the oral phase of libido. This is not just a predisposition of the baby, but also strong characteristics of their environment. The baby doesn't acquire this bond due to messages, but receives these messages, interconnected in that way, because that's the energy they are meant to experience. This is what surrounds them, and this is the moon in Taurus, shaping their emotional world with such characteristics. From these, a series of behaviors can be deduced, but they are latent from the child's origin. This moon provides a calm and serene base that moves towards safety, but can also make the person much slower than their overall energy warrants. Inertia as a security mechanism can, in some cases, lead to stagnation and even neglect. The inertia of materiality. At a broader level, the association between the tangible and the secure makes these individuals quite distrustful. Like St. Thomas, they only believe in what they touch or when something materializes. When the mechanism is active, if there is no physical presence and significant concreteness, it's as if it doesn't exist. This hinders trust in their creativity, which must be visibly manifested before being subjectively recognized. This can be particularly complex in a structure with a lot of fire, for instance, as it will take time to understand the insecurity preventing the expression of desires or expanding creative horizons. It can also be problematic if the rest of the system leads the person to engage in relatively abstract activities. If the lunar mechanism remains unresolved, there will never be complete dedication to their task, hindering the manifestation of their full potential because their moon specifically fears what lacks tangibility, body, or matter. In this case, the lunar level does not believe in what the rest of the system has chosen. This need to cling to things and situations correlates, on an interpersonal level, with possessiveness and jealousy. The need for an affectionate presence that guarantees the solidity of their world leads the more childish aspect to want to possess the people they love. When the mechanism is active, if an adult with the moon in Taurus feels that the world they have poured their affection and security into does not belong to them, meaning it can change independently of them, something panics them, and they feel very insecure. These sensations, stemming from an irrational fear longing for the world's immobility, trigger strong control attempts expressed through unmistakably capricious and childish traits. It's essential to differentiate between control and possessiveness as products of the manifestation of their own energy, typical of a sun in Taurus, and what happens with the moon. Obviously, for a person with the sun in Taurus, material needs are also fundamentally and constitutively expressed, but in this case, it's simultaneously a natural matter. The manifestation of their materializing nature is not dependency, but self-expression. The moon, on the other hand, dramatically needs to be surrounded by physical contact, beauty, money, and permanence, but may lack the qualities to generate them. Initially, the moon in Taurus will unconsciously prioritize economic needs above all else and strive to quickly secure a material foundation. However, if the mechanism persists, nothing will be enough. For example, it's unlikely to see these individuals living in a rented house. Owning a home is almost a condition of existence, and their psychological consolidation is evident when this is achieved. But in cases where generating money is hindered, or even when it's not, but the mechanism remains very active, it's common to see these individuals unconsciously seeking an emotional environment where people have accumulated many possessions. Even if these possessions never belong to them, having emotional ties, real or imaginary, with those who possess relative material abundance expresses the scared child's longing to secure a stable world, even if it's in others and exposed to disillusionment.